Welcome to today's video on how to create an employee manual for commercial cleaning businesses, janitorial services. This can also apply to specialty cleaning services like commercial carpet cleaning, tile cleaning, even a residential maid service. This could apply to. And what this tutorial is about is putting together an employee manual. My name is Shane Dubell, and this is my channel, my YouTube channel. Our business is Method Clean Biz, and you can reach us at methodcleanbiz.com. And today we are going to go over some of the topics on how to create an employee manual. The first thing that I want to point out is these are the topics, but each state can have specific laws on some of these subjects, especially like compensation. So you're this is a good place to start. These are the main topics, and then for some of them, like any kind of an agreement, whenever you want an employee to sign something, that's something that you really need an employee consultant or a lawyer that specializes in labor law that's familiar with your state. Because New York, where I'm in, the laws are much stricter than maybe, say, Alabama or Wisconsin. So all these states can be different on on what their laws are on some of these details. But these are the topics that we want to include in our employee manual. And this is a perfect place to start. And the first paragraph is introducing our company. This is who we are. This is how many years we've been in business. This is what our vision is. This is what we are expecting from you. And this is what you can expect from us. Maybe even a bio from the president of the company or the owner of the company and some background of how you got started would be a great thing to do in the introduction. And the first subject is going to be timekeeping. How will you provide timekeeping? And actually, before I even get into these topics, what I wanted to point out is what an employee manual is creating your set of rules. These are your rules. So when someone comes and works for us, we want to have a list of rules of this is how company rules. Now, that's not the same as training somebody how to clean this way or that way. That's more of an operations manual. That's a step-by-step training manual. This is all about these are the company rules. So the first one is timekeeping. How will you keep track of their time? Will they have a phone that they can access timekeeping like a company like T Sheets is pretty popular. That's an internet-based and online-based timekeeping. Or will there be some kind of a timekeeping clock if you have a shop and they come in and come out? How will they be paid? Are you going to use direct deposit? Are you going to issue checks? When are they going to be mailed? When is the deposit going to drop? This is a big issue. People want to know. Are you paying weekly, bi-weekly? When are bonuses? All those types of questions. Uh, Termination or resigning. Of course, we don't want to be thinking about somebody leaving, but here are the rules, or here's how to leave: resigned, discharged, laid off. We want to qualify this. If they want to resign, if they want a reference in the future, we want to let them know that, well, if you're going to resign, we need a 2 week notice. And maybe for your company, it might only be a 1 week notice, or maybe even longer for a high position like a president or an accounting person, bookkeeping person. You might require a longer notice. But this is up to you to decide and let them know that if you want a good reference from us in the future, well, we need a notice so we can prepare and find somebody to fill your spot. Scheduling. How will we provide the schedule? When will we? Are we going to put it on a website? Are we going to text it to people? Will we post it in our office? How will we handle scheduling? Company phones. Company phones is a really big deal nowadays, and especially with commercial cleaning, where in janitorial, where employees are working remotely, and we're not walking around with them hand in hand all day every day. They can often talk on the phone while they're working. Texting is a problem. So we want to create some kind of a rule on what the phone policy is, especially if we are giving them a phone, if we are issuing a company phone, what the rules are related to the company phone. Smoking, which is a huge deal in the residential field, not as much in commercial, but when customers come in contact with you, if they smell smoke, that can definitely be a negative in their mind, especially if they're a non-smoker. So we want to create some rules about where they can, when they can, if they can, especially with vaping and e-cigarettes. People don't always think it's the same thing, so that's why we want to point that out, that to us it is the same thing. Equipment use, especially taking equipment home for personal use or maybe working at a cousin's house or relative's house. We want to let them know that, well, you just can't go and use our carpet cleaning machine to go and clean your cousin's house. You need written consent from somebody to do that. Attendance is always going to be a huge issue, and deciding when people can call off, how much time in advance they have to give us. I mean, 4 hours in advance is at least a minimum. Some people may require more. This is easier to do, of course, if for second shift workers. For morning workers, it can be more difficult because often people wake up ill and then they have to call in right away. We have to decide, what are the rules going to be for this situation? Return of tools and property. When somebody, this is related to resigning. When somebody resigns, we want our uniforms back, our phones, tools, equipment, business cards, pretty much anything that they may have that is company property, that they are required to return that. Lockers, if you do provide lockers of any kind at your shop that they can use, one thing we want to point out is that yes, it is your space, but it is our property, so we can go and inspect that locker whenever we choose to, because this is our property. They might not always think of that, especially if they put a lock on it. They may think, well, this is my space. Well, it's really not. It's our space. Employee files. What is the process for them to access their files? We want to set up a process for this. Someone can't just walk in your office one day and say, "I want to see my employee file right now." That's just not practical for a manager or an owner. But they do have a right to see what is in their file. So let's schedule a time and we'll go over it. Probation period. And this can go anywhere from 30 days to 90. Some companies even make it 6 months. We do want some kind of a probation period, some kind of trial period. Applications and resumes. Now, this is more for specialty positions, especially professional positions. If somebody were to say they are qualified for XYZ job or have a degree or a certification in something, and later on down the road, once they start working for us, we find out that, well, that information is false and they don't actually have that certificate and they don't know how to do that task, then that's grounds for termination. Performance evaluations. When can somebody expect a performance evaluation? Are you going to do it every month, every week, every 6 months, once a year? This is completely up to you. When I would say at least once a year. A job description. Putting together a job description and letting staff know to familiarize themselves with that job description and all the checklists that need to be handed in. And now, depending if they're a specialty cleaner coming to your shop or they're out in the field, we want some kind of a checklist, either weekly or nightly, that needs to be handed in. And this is the job description. Vacation time, holiday pay, education pay, all of these topics, laying out. This is how you are credited for vacation time. This is when you can do it. Some of us, the summer and spring are super busy, so we may limit when they can take these. It's perfectly well, it's legal in most states anyways. It's something you might have to check on. Holiday pay, what holidays you're going to follow, observe. Education pay, if somebody were to gain a certificate in something, how will you pay it? Will they pay for it and you reimburse them? If they have to travel, how will you handle that whole situation? Customer relations. Obviously, in the cleaning business, this is the biggest thing because often a company, especially when they're working remotely in of a client's building every day, they become part of that building, and they will often look the other way if the cleaning's a 7, it's good, but they really like the person and they think they have great service skills, they might look at the other way on a couple deficiencies here or there. That's why customer relations is so important. They're representing the company. They're the person that's right in front of them. We just want to remind them and also even train in that area. You know, this employment, this is a state issue. There's right to work states and there's other states. I'm assuming most people reading this are probably non-union, but stating the voluntary position that this is and letting people know that we may make changes in the future and we will give them to them. So whether you do it online or you give people a binder, if you do make changes, we do have to let them know. We can't just make them and say, too bad. Employee compensation, you know, how are we going to offer raises or bonuses? What's the standard? We have to let them know. Well, this is the process. This is how we handle raises every year, or this is how we handle if you gain XYZ certificate, you receive XYZ bonus. We want to lay this all out. Equal opportunity employer, ethics in the workplace, relationships in the workplace. This can be a big problem when you have different workers that are with each other all day, every day, or night, and they start a romantic relationship. We want them to, at minimum, let us know so we can think about this, and you'll have to look at what your state laws on what you can and cannot do. We definitely do not want a supervisor dating a subordinate. Now that is trouble. So that's the big thing about relationships in the workplace. If they're co-equals, it's not as big of an issue. It can become an issue with people arguing or whatever, but we definitely do want a supervisor with power or influence over somebody else. You know, conflicts. We want to know about any business conflicts. If their brother-in-law owns a competing company, they have to let us know about that. If a vendor, if they're recommending some type of vendor, then and they're receiving some kind of a kickback or free products or something, we need to know that. They have to tell us all that. Additional employment. What are your rules on additional employment? Especially in today's world where side gigs are very popular, especially with younger workers. Often will have more than one job. So what are the rules that you decide, and that's something that is up to you. Non-disclosure agreement. This is definitely something where you need to contact an uh, employee consultant or a labor lawyer to put this together. Anytime somebody is signing something, that's a legal document. So we need to make sure that that is good in your state. Otherwise, it's useless. So this is the real big one with these non-disclosure type of things for us is going to be the customer lists. We don't want them or pricing related issues. If we're being paid 30 grand a year and an account, we don't want anybody to go and tell a future employer that because they'll know how to bid the job then. And they may underbid you and you may lose it because of that. So that's why this is really important for the customer list type stuff. Or if they quit and start their own business, that's another issue. You know, new job openings and how about your referral process. If this is a great way to find new employees in the future is letting current employees know that, hey, if you refer somebody, if they last over 3 months, you're going to get $150 or $100 or $200, whatever it's worth it to you. And finally, the different employment categories. There's regular full-time, there's permanent part-time. Some positions, especially in the cleaning industry, may be a permanent part-time position. That it's always going to be 3 hours a night, 5 hours a night, etc., or 20 hours a week, and it's never going to change. That's what that position is. Especially even a bookkeeping position. Sometimes a bookkeeper, we really only might need 10 or 15 hours a week. So that's a permanent part-time position. The probation period, which we spoke of before, on a contract basis, job by job, or casual. Often, especially in specialty, we need some casuals, and that is somebody that is on some kind of a casual list and calls in, and maybe we have a job for them once a week or twice a week, and we pay them, but they are casual. They are not guaranteed any number of hours per week or anything. That's the casual designation. And if you are interested in the PDF, you can download it right here. And also, one of the services our company provides is we put together leads lists for cleaning businesses. And one of the things that we recommend is putting together a list of 400 to 1,000, depending what your goals are, of the best prospects. And that's what we do. We populate, that's one of the services that we do, is populate a list for you of the absolute best prospects so you can really target them and focus on them. Thank you, and I hope you enjoyed this video.